What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and straight up top badasses. They're out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves and their family members, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, you guys, I got two rockstar badass guests on the show. These are good personal friends of mine. And you guys, these are the best people that I know in our space, in the real estate industry, when it comes to helping real estate professionals develop a world-class brand. So today, our guests, Tonya Eberhart and Michael Carr, who are the owners of BrandFace, they're going to break down what is the difference between marketing and branding and why brand and your personal brand is so crucial to having success with your overall marketing. Why they're going to break down why your brand is essential. Also, they're going to break down the 6 parts. So each stage, 6 different parts of their brand score process, which will give you an idea and clarity on where your brand needs work and what you need to do to go out there and improve that so you can kick ass inside your real estate business. All right, guys, so before we jump into today's interview, real quick, if you enjoy these podcast interviews and all the other content I'm spitting out here on the GSD Mode podcast on a daily basis, make sure then to check out 41 Tips with joshuasmith.com. This is 41 weeks of free email coaching tips delivered to your email box each and every week. Absolutely nothing being sold. In-depth personal strategies and tactics that I wrote for you guys, strategies that I've done and continue to do inside my real estate business to be able to grow one of the top real estate teams on the planet. And again, nothing being sold, delivered to each week, and just filled with massive content that can help you explode your real estate business. Also, make sure to check us out at gsdmode.com where you can see more great podcast interviews just like this one, as well as a lot of other content, resources, and tools to help you continue to explode your real estate business. All right, guys, with that being said, let's just jump on into today's epic GSD Mode podcast interview with my good friends, Tonya and Michael. All right, so again, here with my great friends, Tonya Eberhart and Michael Carr. Again, second time repeat, I guess, podcast guests, and I asked you guys to come on today because you guys are up to so many brilliant things and something that I truly believe is more important than ever before when it comes to not just real estate agents, but entrepreneurs in general. And, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here because I think that this will go so well into what you guys do with all the branding and helping real estate professionals really solidify their brand. But I don't think most people get why a brand is important, right? And I look at it there's 2 types of marketing that you can do: direct marketing and brand marketing. Direct marketing, though, is where you become a commodity. There's no relationship there. There's no connection there, right? That's just, I look at this, the example I always give for this is when let's just say I'm buying a PC, like a Dell, HP, or a Compact, right? Like to me, it's okay, well, what do I need? And then who has the best bang for the buck? I really don't give a shit if it's a Dell, HP, or Compact. Right? Well, brand marketing, though, when we're speaking of computers, that's Mac. Right? We're like, I'm a hardcore Mac fan. And even though my iPhone might be an inferior phone to some crazy Samsung, I'm getting the iPhone and I'll probably pay 2 or 3 times the amount of it, right? Because of that brand. And how does that relate to real estate agents? I look at this with when we do our Facebook ads, and I tell agents on my team all right, direct marketing is like, if I just do a lead ad to cold traffic, get their contact information, but then they're like, Joshua Smith, who? How'd you get my information? Why are you calling me? Right? Like I'm a stranger to them. They don't give a shit. They're annoyed, right? Where if I do my video funnels, and now at this point, they've seen 100 of my videos, and right before they became a lead, once they become a lead, now I'm peppering with testimony, whatever. Now by the time I get them on the phone, they're like, I see your stuff everywhere. There's an element of trust and connection and hopefully have added value, right? And we got to, if you're a real estate agent watching this, if you're sick and tired of having the discount conversation and working with clientele that doesn't see the value in you, you really need to be focused on brand marketing. Because again, you're either a brand marketer or you're a commodity where all they care about is like, what are you going to do for me and what's the best price you can do it for? Right? That's why I want to bring you guys back in because I know you're doing some really cool new things, right? Because the confusion always is, well, how do I know if my brand is really working? And you guys have some great new stuff that you just launched to help with this. But you're the best in the game when it comes to real estate agents dialing in their brand, so I just kind of wanted to go on that little tangent. And I hate hijacking the podcast, right? Like I always like to let our guests talk, but I think it's so important for people to really grasp that and understand that, because it does take a little time, not meaning time to create the brand, but time for it to really infuse into the community where they see you as that brand go-to person.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Joshua, because it really, when you have a well-polished, put together, well-defined and developed and displayed brand, then you have that immediate credibility that comes with that. Because if you can imagine, going through the grocery store, and a lot of real estate agents will buy the grocery store cart signs, right? Or going past billboards or flipping through a magazine, a real estate magazine, and you're seeing an ad. There's the basic everyday Joe Schmo real estate agent ad, right? It's like the buttoned up, stiff kind of suit looking thing. And it's basically the brokerage logo. And here's my phone number, here's my information. And it says something like, if you or someone would like to buy or sell a home, call Joe, right? And that stuff is so boring, and we see it so many places. But imagine you're riding down the road and you see this billboard, and it just captures your attention all of a sudden. And there's an unusual pose or a bright color or a tagline that just really grabs your attention. And then the next thing you know, you're seeing that in a Google ad, and you're seeing that on Facebook. And you're hearing about this agent on the radio, and then the list goes on. And like you said, it's through your video funnels. Like, people get to know who you are and your own expertise through that. And we always say you should never, ever get on the phone with anybody or meet in person with somebody unless they, number one, are familiar with you, and number two, familiar with what you stand for. And so that's when your brand precedes you, just like you do with your video funnels. By the time people get on the phone with you, it's like, oh, I know who you are. I've seen 18 of your videos, right? Mm-hmm. And we've actually heard that. We've watched 14 of your videos last week. So we know who you guys are, right? That's what you want. You want that. And all of that polish and the professionalism, it all comes down to credibility and top of mind awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It sticks
and the
out.
Consistency that comes with that. Like, it's so important. Like, that is my number one word, like consistency, right? I travel through the whole Southeast. I was up in Charlotte, North Carolina today. I'm coming through Greenville. There's a big agent in Greenville, right? This guy has billboards. He's got park benches. He's got Facebook ads and whatnot. The message is different every time. He has no consistency to his message. And the only reason he sticks in my mind is because I'm watching how inconsistent this guy is. He's a great real estate agent, don't get me wrong, but he's missing so much of the peripheral because it's not a consistent message, and nobody knows who Jeff is. They don't really know what he stands for. They don't know who he really works with. They don't know what his niche is. They don't know what made him become real estate agent, extraordinaire. And every one of his billboards and messages are different, and there's not a consistency to how it sticks in somebody's mind. And marketing is not new in a lot of ways, right? It's the adage goes way back. We've got to be remembered somewhere between 5 and 8 times. Remembered, not seen, remembered 5 to 8 times before we're at top of the mind awareness. And if your message is different every time, you're starting over every time.
Yep. Love it. So then, so 8 to or 5 to 8, 10, whatever you said over that stat, to be remembered. How many times does it take to get seen to get then remembered?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I mean, I just was interviewing a Facebook expert, and they said right now it's 33 times, but one Facebook ad before people start to remember that ad.
Right. And it depends upon the differentiation of the ad and the noise around you, the amount of noise around you. Because the amount of noise, think about our Facebook feed. You pick up your phone right now and scroll. And it's only those ads that really pop out at you, that capture your attention, that you're even going to get a glance at. Otherwise, it's just scroll. Because in the advertising world, they call it impressions, right? But we say you're never gonna, the impressions are never gonna matter until you're able to impress people with it. Right? Because impressions, they used to tell us in the very beginning when impressions were a big thing, like we served 100,000 impressions of your ads. Like, so what? How many people actually saw it? Right? How many people actually saw it and engaged with it and so forth? I don't want to impress 100,000 people. I want to do business with 10. So that's where you really have to jump out, because it is what we call the real estate sea of sameness. There's so many that look alike.
Yeah. So then, how important is it to really niche down in order to accomplish this? Because when you're saying all this stuff, it's like, I'm going back to, Michael's, kind of past life before BrandFace and now your brokerage that you're running now today started. But, you're the largest real estate auctioneer in the United States, and auction 70, 100,000, whatever. I mean,
right. Yeah. We're up to
78,000 now. Right. But you niched down, you had your brand right, and you became number one in the United States for that thing that you did. And so before, you even get into the branding thing, how important is it to be able to identify your niche? Because it's really hard to get a broad percentage of people to know who you are, what you do, what you stand for, so can you just kind of elaborate on the importance of a niche and even if it matters?
Yeah, no, it matters greatly. Let me bring it home just a little bit, and even shrink that question down just a little bit. When I have people come into my brokerage and they okay, I want to get into the real estate business, right? And they've got their real estate license and now they're fired up about it, and they want to go out here and they want to grab like a 2,000 home subdivision and they want to market to that 2,000 home subdivision. That's going to be their farming area. I'm like, no. What you need to do is take about 2 or 3 of those neighborhoods and shrink that 2,000 home neighborhood, shrink it down into about 100 or 200. But pick the streets that you're going to get known on, and then begin to pull it back from there, right? Because we know that marketing, as Tonya was talking about, it's very important that we're remembered. So you're much better off, to make it simple, for you to reach 10 people 10 times than to reach 100 people one time. Your business is going to grow if you do that. And I was guilty of it as a business owner before I became the auctioneer. I fell into that REO. I partnered with a company out of California. We were able to get the Bear Stearns portfolio. This is a lot of the reason why I was able to become top selling real estate auctioneer in the United States. But prior to that, we all think we have this grandiose ideas. If you're dreamers like we are, like the 3 of us are on the show right here, we think, I want to take over the world. And we still do, don't get me wrong. But you got to shrink it back down to Atlanta. And then you got to say, well, I can't take over Atlanta. There's like 3 million people here buying houses, right? You know what I mean? I can't do that. So now I got to shrink it down into a county. Well, wait just a minute. There's 1 million people in Gwinnett County. Let me shrink it down to Swanee. Hold on just a minute. Swanee's got 60,000 people in it. Well, let me shrink it down to, but it's very important that you do that, because you've got to be memorable to your client base, right? So when we talk about making a niche, you want to go into an area and get really known in that area. And then you want to take that branding message that you have, and you want to start doing your peripheral messages, like your radio ads and your what we call a blanket advertising over your niche advertising. You want your Facebook ads to be memorable, but you can't use the same image every time, because we already know, as people are scrolling through that, if they see that image, they may not be paying attention to the message that is very important of how you're going to help them. They just see the same picture and they're like, oh, I've already seen that picture. Well, that's not a memory. That doesn't count as one of those 5 to 8 times that you've got to be memorized, right? And so you've got to continue to break down those nuances where your message is what is resonating with people. And then once you capture their attention and get them to sort of follow you, it's like if anybody out there's a fisher, like an angler, you know what I mean? You got to get that bass to chase that Ned rig a little bit, you know what I mean? You got to make it mad a little bit. What are you doing in my neighborhood, and that sort of thing, because you you gotta be remembered. And then you start building outward as soon as that memorability starts coming in. So I hope that's not too ethereal of an answer that we're looking for, but it's almost like prune it and it'll grow, I guess, is one of the best ways to put it, and that's what when we talk about niche marketing, we're not talking about, okay, you're just going to sew this super tight suit and I'm just going to work with first-time home buyers. You know what I mean? Well, if you did that in the town I live in, you'd be out of business because we're sold out of first-time of starter homes. Like, they're done. They're gone, right? The real money in the town that I live in is in the people going from their starter home to the next house, right? Their growth house, the one where they've got two more, another kid coming and they need another bedroom. So now we've got to upgrade. Right? That's where the real money is. And then if you go a little bit further south, then it becomes luxury and you start getting into $400,000 and $500,000 and $700,000 houses, right? You go further south and then you start getting into $1 million houses and they're all their own specific niche.
Yeah, love it. And I know that we talked about this in the last podcast when I had you guys on, but just in case people weren't able to check that out, which we'll have a link below for you guys to watch and listen to this to check that out as well, which I highly recommend that you do. There's so much gold in that podcast. But for those that are watching, listening, a lot of people think brand is, I'm going to go to Fiverr and create a quick logo, right? Like, that's what they think of a brand.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Can you just kind of elaborate on, like, really, I mean, what is a brand? Like, what is a brand? What is a brand?
Yeah. Well, really, at the end of the day, most people define it as the way a business or a business person, how you feel about something, right? And that's partially true for me, but creating a brand is creating a message and an image that attracts the type of person or persons that you would like to do business with every single day. It's all about law of attraction, right? So you can't possibly begin to create a brand or do any marketing for that matter. And this is a big thing. So if there's anything to highlight and underline in this podcast, it is, do not try to do marketing before you understand your brand. Because how on earth do you even know what to put in your marketing unless, first of all, you know who it is you're trying to attract? Who do you want to do business with? And then what about you is different that person is going to resonate with, is going to appreciate, is going to be helpful to them? And all of that kind of comes together to create a brand. So it's the image and the message, imagery and messaging that pulls together consistently across multiple platforms to create an image and a look and feel that we want, that instantly and naturally attracts the kind of people we want to work with.
Yep. Love it. Mm-hmm. And then, I know we were talking before we hit the record button kind of off air of, the biggest kind of limiting belief or block that so many have of why they don't put the attention, time, and energy into developing their brand is because they think, oh my God, this is going to be a huge overhaul, take forever. But when you guys broke it down, I mean, it's like what, 10 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe max a day, right? Hour or so.
Yeah, for just a few weeks, for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, about 15 minutes a day. And honestly, we do 98% of the heavy lifting. Yeah, you got to show up, right? You got to show up motivated, because we only take on clients who are as passionate as we are about branding. So if you come in and you put both feet in and you're super passionate about it, we can get this done in 15 minutes a day. Some people have finished it in as little as 4 or 5 weeks. 6 to 8 is about average, and that is creating everything you need for your brand. And what that means is, it doesn't mean you create it and then, oh gosh, everything's over. It means now you have every single thing you need to market yourself on any platform for the rest of your career. Obviously, little tweaks will happen as you're moving forward. You might change who that ideal customer is just a little bit, get some new photos, change out your imagery as you move ahead a couple of years from now. But the main basic thing about who you are, what makes you special and sets you apart and makes you different, is not going to change. Mm-hmm. So it's a story built around you. And it is so super easy to do. We've been doing it for years, and we have really nailed the system, Joshua. We have nailed it so much that it's boom, boom, boom. You come in, everything's in order. There's no second guessing. You know exactly what to do next. You know what we're working on. You come out at the end of it, and you know exactly what to do with it.
Yeah, I've got the prime example for that. Let me share a personal story. So Tonya and I go to this gala event the other day that for a group that my mom is actually involved in, right? And it's just something she does. She's retired. She doesn't have anything to do, so she hangs out with this group. And
she could kill you for that.
Yeah, I know, right? And so busiest person with nothing to do that you ever met in your life. So anyway, so she's involved with this group, and so Tonya, when I hired Tonya, I was a client before I became a partner in the company. And so she created the brand, and we worked through everything that we do now. We squeeze into about 6 to 8 weeks. We did that. And so I have all of my peripheral stuff that is at a moment's notice. Like it's in a G drive. We can go get images we want. We can get language that we want. We can get the fonts that we want. Our signs are already designed. It's been this way for 5.5, nearly 6 years now. Right. And so this particular group, they do an outreach where they do like this coffee time. And so we go to this gala thing, and they're blowing up this coffee time, and it's called Java Joy. And it's like an incredible thing. You get a free cup of coffee and a free hug. And their goal is to be the largest employer of disabled adults in the United States. Like, that's our goal. So I come back, and because we love events in my small town, and I'm like, my staff on 9 a.m., I'm like, you know what? We're going to host a Java Joy like that. 5 emails later, that includes to the sign people, the language that we needed. We've got every bit of the Facebook already set up. We've got them on the calendar for the next 3 months. We've got the signs already coming. We've spent $30, that's total, on Facebook ads and including the booths and the signs that are coming, and the entire event set up. And the whole thing took one of my staff members maybe 30 minutes. And it's all because when you have that brand and you already know what your messaging is, and your message is consistent constantly, then a crazy guy like me can just come up with a wild idea, and 30 minutes later it's implemented, and we got it on the calendar, and we're already getting shout outs. We've already got the event, and people are already RSVP'd for it. And that's huge because, we're in the market of the local market, and we want all of our people in the area to know we're here. The new people that don't know we're here to come in for different reasons. We're community based, and we were able to put that whole thing together because we've spent the time building the brand, and everything will be completely consistent, just like that. And it's huge.
And I think one of the biggest things, Joshua, for people in your audience to know is the frustration and the deer in the headlights look when they sit down and they think, oh my God, it's kind of time to market. I'm going to run some Facebook ads, or I'm going to run an ad in the local newspaper, or whatever it is. It's like, well, what do I put in there? And they're just like staring at a blank piece of paper or a blank screen. Well,
what's
there's no more of that.
Action? What's my what's my message?
Right. What do I stand for? How's my ad going to look different from that guy's ad? And no more of that when you get your brand all squared away. It is, so think of it this way. Marketing is getting a message out there on various different vehicles, marketing vehicles, through Facebook, magazines, radio, television, billboards, you name it. Your brand is the message that you market. So if you don't have the defined and differentiating message to market on those, then what are you doing marketing? Because you're just marketing like everybody else, and you're going to get very lackluster results.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Love it. And it's, I just actually, that's probably 2 hours ago, right? It was a podcast before our podcast right now, because I do all mine on Thursdays, right? But I had a mega agent, good buddy of mine, name's Matt Curtis, and did 1,100 transactions last year, his team. And, I asked him, because they're everywhere, billboards, radio, social, they're just blasted everywhere. But I asked him, though, I said, what is the power of it? Right, when it comes to making sure that your brand is consistent on all of those mediums, right? And his response was everything, right? And he's like, dude, people in my market try to duplicate what we do, but they don't get the brand right. They're not congruent with it. They're not consistent with it. And they just end up wasting that precious hard-earned money where they're able to get that consistent, great ROI, but everything is so methodical. And I see this happen with a lot of social media, advertisers, realtors that are marketing on social media, because it's like, look, at the end of the day, I can get a slightly better cost per lead on a Facebook ad if I create a community page that's for that community, right? But that takes away the brand element. So now I'm competing against myself directly for my own brand, right? So when you play the long game, that shit just ends up crushing you, right? But that's there's somebody that's short-sighted versus thinking that long game in their business.
Right. And there are ways to get around that. There are ways to kind of be brand congruent without actually physically calling it out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can have that brand consistency there without having your face on it, right? And you'd be amazed how many people recognize a brand just by the visuals alone, and I'm not even talking about the name or the logo.
Yeah,
just by an image or a color or a certain font. If I showed you the Coca-Cola font right now, you would know it even if it said Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. You'd be like, something's wrong.
Say, no, that's Coke. That's Coca-Cola's font. That's not Pepsi's font.
Remember, like the Coca-Cola when they put the people's names on the cans, like you could buy one that was like Michael, or buy one that was but you still knew it was Coke.
Yeah. It goes back to when I was a kid. My dad was in the car business, and we'd have to clean up the windows, and Daddy was always screaming, clean the door jams. I'm like, why would we clean the door jams? He's like, people don't notice that they notice it. Yeah. And it's so
Little
true.
things.
It's so true. And elements can do the same thing, and it triggers something in their mind. We were on a podcast the other day and we were talking about it. It's like when you buy a new car, and then you're driving down the road and you see everybody else that has that same car. They didn't go buy it the same day you bought your car. They, probably bought it before, after, same time, whatever. But you're noticing it now because the RAS in your mind, your memory system has now triggered, and it is recognizing that exact same car because it is relevant to you. And a brand works no different. That's why all of it is important to come together. And it's not just a picture. It's not just a glamour shot photo of yourself. You know what I mean? We survived those days. Hallelujah. It's more than that. It's all of the elements that come together with your message. And it's important to get that right.
Yeah.
You can't shortcut it.
You cannot.
Exactly. We're in a business of get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do. Fall frequently, your business continues to grow. But one key thing to that is, look, I'll go into my team meeting, and maybe I have 30 agents in there, and I'll ask them how many, because they'll get frustrated with, man, I'm getting these, my leads this month, and man, nobody wants to buy yet. People are wanting to wait. And I'm like, so I'll go in there. I'm like, how many of you are actively looking to buy or sell a house right now personally? And maybe one out of that 30 will raise their hands. I'm like, look around this room. Right? We're selling and buying a product where people are only doing it every 5, 7, 10 years, right? So the goal is to get so ingrained though, where when they do have that need, that bam, they're thinking of you, right? So then with this, I know that you guys, and I'm excited to hear about this because I haven't even heard about your new 6-part scoring system that you guys just created, because I think a lot of the other, it's like, okay, hey man, I'm going to commit the time, but man, where do I even start? Like people don't know where they're strong or where they're weak. And it sounds like this new system that you guys created helps people identify, because it's like, okay, if I need to work on this, well, what could I work on now that would have the biggest impact or so? So can you just give us, tell us about what this new scoring process system looks like and what it does?
Absolutely. So I'll give you the overview of it, and then if you want, we can break it down real quick into like the 6 different categories that we look at when we assess brands to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we realize there are a lot of people who don't really understand what a brand is. And like you said before, they think they can go on Fiverr and get a cool logo, and now my colors are consistent everywhere, my photos on it, I'm good to go. Right. And that's part of it, but it's not everything, right? It's not everything. So what we did was we simplified it so much. We simplified the ability for somebody to come in and say, okay, here are 3 things I want you to look at. We assess those and then send them back a report and let them know where their brand is working for them and where the brand could use improvement. So we score brands in 6 different categories. Now, when we help somebody build their brand, we look at 77 different criteria. That doesn't mean you have to look at it. You don't even have to think about it. We take care of it for you. But we look at those 77 different criteria because, like you said, every detail matters. Mm-hmm. So they all fall into 6 different categories, though. So, and these are not in any particular order. So I'm just going to toss out the first one here that we look at. First, let me tell you what we ask people to submit. So when they do BrandFace SCORE, we ask them to submit 3 things. We wanted just a picture of the front and back of their business card. They can take it with their phone, upload it through the form. We want a link to their existing real estate website. And we want, a link to their business Facebook page, their real estate Facebook page. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter what else you've got. If you've got the coolest brochures in the world and all of your collateral material looks awesome, if you don't at least have it on the 3 things people see most often, your business card, your Facebook page, and your website, then your brand is not consistent. So you already at strike 1 right off the bat, right? So we take a look at those 3 things, and if you're not consistent in those 3, then that's just one of the elements we look at is the consistency. But the first thing we look at is differentiation. That is, out of the 6 categories, category number 1 is differentiation. And that means, is it immediately apparent what sets you apart? What are you known for? What do you want to be known for? So Michael is America's top selling real estate auctioneer. He leverages that to grow his local real estate business because, my goodness, who's sold more than 78,000 homes, right? Nobody else in the United States has. So this guy must know a little bit about what he's talking about, right? All of that expertise and all of that experience rains down through his company and his team. My brand identifier is branding agent to business stars. So I help business people become business stars. So those 2 things right off the bat should be seen, right? It should be known that BrandFace, first of all, the name itself, BrandFace, says kind of what we do, right? Mm-hmm. So all of those things, it should be immediately apparent. How are you different from everybody else? And it doesn't have to be rocket science. Sometimes it's just, hey, I'm the most responsive one you're ever going to meet. Let me tell you how responsive I am. You try to call me at 3 a.m., I'm going to answer it. Of course, nobody wants to say that, but that's just an example. So there are lots of different ways to stand out. So differentiation is the first one.
Message is the second one. Your message has to be consistent all the way across all of your mediums. That's very important. And the message has to be clear on the point of differentiation and then how you're going to help that person, because right, our clients and customers are really only interested in their families and how we can help them. Right? Where does that fall into? And that message has to be clear and concise. It can't be this message on this particular medium and this message on another medium and this message on another medium, or even worse, no message at all. So message is very important.
And then the third one, again, not in any particular order, but ideal customers. To me, it kind of all starts there because you might be somebody that has 3 or 4 points of differentiation, things that are really strong and special about you. But depending on who it is you're trying to attract, we might showcase one of those above the others, right? So figure out who it is you want to do business with every day first. And those are the people you're trying to attract. So it needs to be in your mind that every time you sit down to create a business card or create a postcard or design a Facebook ad or anything you're trying to do, your first question needs to be, okay, picture in your mind who that ideal customer is and think like they think and solve their problem, right? That's where it starts.
Yep. And an images are very important. Like you can't, and that's not just your facial image. That obviously is very important in a face forward business, but it's also the other elements that mean, and they have to support each other. And this is where we see a lot of people sort of falter, right? Because if your message is how confident you are, but then a lot of your imagery is not confident, then people recognize that they juxtaposition each other and they're just going to be like, that's just like everybody everybody else. Like, so imaging is very important, and your other elements of imagery have to support the message that you're putting out there, which has to support your point of differentiation.
Even down to the subliminal kind of imagery as well.
Very important. Mm-hmm.
The next one is going to be Michael's favorite, which is consistency. And actually, I'm going to steal Michael's quote here. He says, success is the consistency you practice when you can't see the immediate benefit of the results. You keep doing it and keep going and keep going. Joshua, you didn't get to where you are today because you sat on your butt. You got to where you are because you hustled and you're out there every day doing what you, I get a video in my inbox from you every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're working hard.
Yeah.
And I know it's fantastic content. So those two things matter. I know when it comes through my inbox, it's like, I got to check that out. What's he talking about today? So those things are truly important. And it's that consistency, because the first 10 or 15 or maybe even 100 videos that you didn't amass the audience you have today. You amassed the audience because you kept doing what you were doing. Mm-hmm. So that's the consistency.
And then retention, obviously, is it powerful enough? Is what you're saying, is your messaging, is your brand, is your call to action strong enough that it's being retained, right? And then you're not falling into those small traps to where you're just doing the same one over and over and over and over and over again. That's really, really, really important. Like, that's where our expertise sort of comes in a little bit, and the practice of doing what we've been doing, because we had somebody say it the other day on one of our ads. They're like, oh, BrandFace, and you don't even have your face on it. Well, that was one ad, and it had actually the same messaging that a lot of our other messaging has with our facial recognition on it. But the reason that we did that was for retention, and we know how to get that retention, which is very important. The message didn't change, and then the message led them right back to where we wanted them to go to begin with. But we do it long enough that we know that if it's the same message or same image over and over and over again, it's not being retained after a certain amount of time. So again, you got to lead them a little bit, you got to hook them, and then give them the retention again. But retention is very important, and people tend to stumble a little bit on that, and it falls right in line with on the heels of consistency when they're like, oh, this doesn't work, I'm just not going to do it anymore, or I'm going to shift directions, because I've been doing this for 2 days and the phone's not ringing off the hook yet. You know what I mean? And you have to, it's very important that it all leads in together, but that everything that we do through those 6 points leads us to retention, because we must be retained in the memory.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. And then, so when you do for retention, because my mind goes, well, how do you test that? But is that why you did the intentional message just to, because you're seeing, hey, are people going to comment? Because obviously now they're used to seeing your faces on there with BrandFace. They're paying attention. Like, I had a podcast one, because I always started my podcast with "What's up, my peeps," and I did one. I didn't say that one time. I'm like, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" And I had a bunch of comments. So where's my peeps? Like,
where's my peeps?
Oh, shit. I didn't even know. Right?
I love it.
Right? I'm like, God, these people are really paying attention. Right? Which is awesome. I didn't know the stickiness of that. That one little intro until I forgot to do it one time. But is that kind of what you mean by retention?
That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
That's exactly it. Because it's not enough just to look at it this way. The average Joe Schmo real estate ads that are out there that we were talking about earlier, they're not going to have a lot of retention. You forget them almost as soon as you see them, because they look like everything else you've seen. And there's nothing special or different or unique about them. So you don't retain them as much as you would an unusual, wow, I haven't seen that before. Oh, wow, that's what that guy does. That is exactly what I'm looking for, right? And you're going to, and you won't have retention with everyone. You'll have retention with your peeps. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't possibly appeal to everyone. If you put a comedian in front of a 10,000 person audience that has never seen that comedian before, over half the people are going to hate that comedian, right? But why do they sell out rooms? They don't sell out rooms to people that have never seen them before. They sell out rooms to people that know and love them and follow them. They're people. They're their people. So you're only going to receive that retention with the people who you're trying to attract. And that's the whole thing that a lot of times people forget is you don't just create a brand because you want to look good on a billboard. You create a brand to attract the kind of people that you want to attract, because it's not about look at me, look at me. It's about look what I can do for you. How can I help you today? How can I serve you? A great brand should answer 5 things, Joshua. What sets you apart, who you serve, how you serve them, what qualifies you to serve them, and how it makes their life better.
Yeah, love it. Powerful stuff. And then when you guys do this, I know like with your those that choose to work with you guys at BrandFace, how long does it take to go through like this 6-part scoring system? Not meaning, I know you mentioned the 6 to 8 weeks, like to have everything done
Just
at
the
the end
scoring
of the
part.
Yeah, yep.
48 hours, they get a report back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because it does not take more than, really, we really look at it deeply. We take a lot of time to look through it, but sometimes, honestly, it takes 5 minutes. I can look at it and say, well, there's no point of differentiation anywhere. Got to start here. Because if there's not that, then the color doesn't matter. The photo doesn't matter. We don't even know what sets you apart from everybody else, right? So we've got to start there. And then, it just kind of goes from there. But 48 hours, you get the report back. And right now it's free, guys. Just go to BrandFaceSCORE.com.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And what's so cool about it is you guys are able to do it so quick because you've done this for so long. You know what to look for. Right? It reminds me of that whole, and I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but the story of the plumber, right? The guy calls a plumber. He's trying to fix a leak, can't fix it, calls his plumber. Plumber comes in, looks at it, pulls out the wrench, turns the wrench once, fixes the leak, and is like, oh, that'll be $1,000. And the guy's like, $1,000, it took you 30 seconds. He goes, no, the 30 seconds to turn the wrench, that's only $50. The other $950 is the 10 years it took me to know where to turn the wrench.
Exactly.
And that's what I don't think people understand, right? Because it's like,
Right.
as you're saying these to me, I'm like, fuck, this would take me a year to maybe test and figure these out where I need to improve on these 6 things. Because I'm not the expert in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's our passion. I mean, it's like we just live and breathe this stuff. We absolutely love it.
Yeah.
We want everybody. Think about it this way. Every single real estate agent in this country was personally branded. Not a single one of them would look alike.
Right.
Nothing would look alike. They'd all be standing strong on their own merits. They'd all have their own purpose and what they stood for defined, and all of their marketing materials and all of their branding elements would be sitting there at their fingertips at a moment's notice. And everybody out there who's trying to hire a real estate agent would no longer be going, what? I mean, there's so many of them. Which one do I go with? They'll know because you've defined it. You've defined who you're best suited to work for. You've defined a brand that's going to attract just the right people that you want to work with. So it would be a beautiful thing if everybody was branded and nobody needs to worry about what the guy next to him's doing. Because they're not like you anyway. It's funny, I have to say this real quick because we get this question a lot. It's like, well, can you send me some examples of people you've branded in my city? And I always go, why? Why? Because the whole point of BrandFace is that we're going to make you different from everybody else. You want to see what everybody else is doing? Why do you even want to see that? Let's take a look at what you're doing and what sets you apart and what you want to achieve. Let's take a look at that, because I guarantee you, if we showed you 10 brands, 10 personal brands, examples all across the board, you might hate 8 of them. And the reason for that is they're not yours and you don't understand them because, number one, you're not that agent. Number two, you're probably not their ideal customer either.
And you're not going to use them.
Right.
Like, so,
you're not going to use them. It's all so individual. It's impossible to do cookie cutter branding. You can't, because it's personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. And I think the thing that a lot of people don't think about, I know that you kind of alluded to this when you were talking about the ideal client, but it's like, man, life's too short to have clients and work with clients that make you miserable. I always tell people, find your ideal client, but then find your PITA, pain in the ass client. Like they said, you repel them, right? Like, so I had a guy on the podcast just the other day. Now this is a mega producer, $200 million a year in volume, and top 100 Wall Street journalist for 5 years straight. And he almost quit the business, right? Because he was just miserable. He's making a ton of money. He's like, I'm just miserable. I hate doing this. I hate the clients I work with. Like he was just miserable. And then he's like, well, but he got clear on the ideal client. He's like, who do I love working with? And for him, he was a, very successful skater before he got into real estate. And, but then identify like even the property type. He's like, I don't know why, but most skaters love, kind of mid-century and modern homes, right. And he also loved clothing companies and people that own clothing companies but he built a brand around like skate to real estate. But then like everything from how he dresses, his office to, the car he drives, like everything. But now, but the dude now has like 40,000 Instagram followers and it's just blown up where now he's created this business that he loves. He's working with the people that he loves. And, it's just the night and day difference. Now he was making great money both the times. Right. But went from being miserable to absolutely having so much passion and energy and just loving life now by just transitioning and getting clear on who do you really want to work with and then creating that brand and that messaging and all those other things to that person. Life's too short to put up with it otherwise, right?
It is so true. And, there's somebody out there for everybody, you know what I mean? So your PETA, it might not be somebody else's, right? It's just, there's, Grandpa always said, there's a tail end for every seat, you know what I mean? And like, birds of a feather is the way I like to put it. We all are attractive to somebody else. We all have friends and the people that we like to hang out with and have the same interests and if you focus on that, you're going to do like you're exactly that guy you're talking about right there. And now not only is he loving life, he's making more money than he ever made loving life. And that's exactly the goal behind it. I mean, we're not, look, if we're out here just hating what we do every day, we're never going to be good at it. And you got to enjoy it.
Yeah. And then the congruency and the consistency of putting out the content that, I've been watching a lot of Gary Vee stuff lately and I've been a huge fan of his for a long time, but I've realized that my social media game is 10% of what it needs to be. So I've been going back into just binging his content. He's just like, look, man, you got to be putting out 60 to 70 different pieces of content a day through. And that would mean, okay, hey, I might put it in these 4 places on Facebook. That counts as 4. And then repurpose on LinkedIn. And, so it might sound more than it is. But then when you look at it with all the different social platforms and YouTube and your website, man, people's eyeballs are everywhere. And these are all free mediums. But if it isn't consistent with that branding, dude, you're just wasting your time, and I know we're kind of beating this up to death, but I just hope everybody is understanding the power of that brand, because then too, it's the comment I get daily from real estate agents is, how do I combat these discounters? Right. And it's just like, look, man, like you either join them or you put in the work. So they're non-existent in your world, at least to the, your people, right. Which is doing this type of work is a huge component of it. So, with this, with BrandFace, I know we've got the 6-point scoring thing that you mentioned is free, and we'll have the link wherever you're watching or listening. We'll have a link below, so you guys can go out there and go through that process for free that you guys are offering, which is amazing, and appreciate you guys doing that. But if people do want to work with you guys on going down this 6 to 8 week journey, which again is minimal time effort, like when you told me how much time it actually took, I was blown away because I thought it would take a hell of a lot more time than that, right? Which I'm never nervous about investing time. People bitch about time, but I'm like, it's going to pass anyway. Who cares how much time anything takes? Just get it done, right? But if they do want to take their brand to the next level and work with you guys instead of trying to figure out this for years on their own and maybe never, dial it in, what is the best place to do that? And what is that can you just walk us give us an idea of what that looks like so they know what to expect?
You bet. Okay, so you can go to BrandFaceRealEstate.com. Right on the page there, it gives you a chance to watch a free training video, and that's going to tell them a lot about personal branding. And then right at the end of that video, or on the website as well, you can hit the Talk to Us button and schedule a call with one of our staff members to really talk about what's involved in the program. But it's super simple. So here's what we're going to do first. We're going to we're going to figure out what it is that sets you apart in the define phase. So we're going to do 3 phases: define, develop, display. In the define phase, we're going to help you figure out who those ideal customers are. And we're going to help you figure out your point of differentiation that's going to help you to continue to attract those people. And then start everything, kick it off, if you will, with a brand identifier. That's that tagline that really just kind of gives you those guardrails and says, this is who I am, this is what I'm known for, and this is the direction I'm going, right? So branding agent to business stars will be mine, right? That's what I want to be known for. So that's kind of set the tone, and everything that I do, every piece of content I put out, everything around that is designed to build upon that expertise. And that's so that'll be done in the define phase. Then we move into developing what that brand looks like. From top to bottom, we look at, okay, how do you communicate what sets you apart? We call that brand messaging. Everything from your elevator pitch to your biography to what we call sound bites, which are highlights of the brand at a glance. We're going to tackle all of those for you, write it for you. Then we're going to take a look at what the brand looks like. Everything from your brand colors, your personal brand logo, imagery that Michael was talking about, subliminal, resonates with the brand, things that just, if people saw nothing but an image, they would immediately know that's you, right? And then photos of the agents. And we have a stylist on staff, so they get on a video chat with them, help them choose the right wardrobe, hair and makeup tips if they need it, making sure they're super prepared for a photo shoot going into it. They choose their own photographer in their local area, but we get them 100% prepared for that shoot, including everything the photographer needs to know already put in a BrandFace photo shoot guide for them. So once we get all those elements together, the brand colors, the logo, the messaging, the imagery, the photos of the agent, then we move into the third phase, and that is display. Now we're going to make sure that new brand is displayed correctly and consistently across all of their everyday marketing platforms. Things like their website, all of their social channels will be customized with the new brand. Collateral materials they use every day, like a business card, thank you card, something we call a spotlight sheet, which just is a one sheet with 5 elements of their brand at a glance. All those things are already customized for you, and we actually go in and do that for you while you're in the program. So when you come out of it, you got a couple of things. Number one, you've got a standout brand that's like no one else's, and it differentiates you and helps you attract exactly the kind of people you're trying to attract every day. Number two, all of your everyday marketing platforms are already customized for you. And number three, we set up a brand assets library for you online, organize it for you. So from that point forward, every single thing you need to market yourself, everything we create as you're going through the program is there at your fingertips, and you just plug and play.
Yep. Love it. And that's Michael, that's what you were talking about with the event, right? You were able to just go in there and access those assets and have this huge event all done within 30 minutes.
With one staff member, 30 minutes over time, it was all set up. The message was the same. It's just like you're talking about with Gary Vee, you know, when he says, look, you need to be putting this out there. And like you said, you know, it might be 4 on Facebook, but then it's also going to go to Instagram, and then you're going to Twitter stuff. All of that's set up when you come out of the program. And the cool thing about it too is in the define phase, as soon as we get that tagline, like it instantly can change a person's business just like that. And we've had people immediately start getting business just by saying, you know, I never defined exactly what I did. Before, I walk up and people say, what are you doing? I'll be, I'm a realtor. Yeah. Well, everybody knows a realtor. You know what I mean? They know 8 of them. You know, most people's grandmother's a realtor. You know, she hadn't sold a house in 20 years, but she, you know, you get the point. And so once it's defined like that, though, then your brand can get started immediately. And then by the time you get through the program, you're going to have tentacles that run in 100 different directions, which is, you know, like Tonya said it the other day, omnipresent marketing. We have to be omnipresent constantly. Yeah.
So, love it. Powerful stuff. And you guys, again, below, we're going to have, wherever you're watching, we'll have links below where you can get that 6-point scoring system and see how you rate, plus all their contact information for you to check out that free training video, as well as get in touch with Tonya and Michael to take it to the next steps if you guys want to go through this process, which I highly recommend. I'm not a big believer in trying to figure stuff out ourselves, right? Our job, like, let's stay focused in our lane. I make money as a real estate agent. by setting appointments, conducting those appointments, and negotiating contracts, not trying to figure out how to become a graphic designer, right? But anyway, those watching, listen, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation is truly just a start of delusion. Information is the power. It's taking that information, taking massive action, which gives you the power to create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Tonya and Michael shared so many great pieces of advice with you guys today. Again, take something that you learned, go out there, take immediate action so you can create that life you know you want and deserve. And Tonya and Michael, truly appreciate you guys coming on a second time. It's always a lot of fun and a huge honor having you guys on and learning from you guys, and truly appreciate you being here.
Hey, the honor's ours, man. We love you. You're awesome. Keep doing it.
Hell yeah, you guys as well.
Done. You know what?
The only way to roll, man. GSD mode, baby. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.